Hey, CR family. Welcome. I'm so glad to see so many of you that I know. I'm so excited. I don't know if you guys could feel it, but we just had this amazing prayer session right here. And I'm like awake now. So, welcome to CR. We're actually going to start off with some hip and fun songs. So, if you guys would stand, we're going to start us off.
You gotta get your phone out, baby. Whatever you gotta do.
When night has fallen, when fear is coming, still you're calling me. When faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up, 'cause you won't give up for me. No, you won't give up for me. 'Cause your love is holding on, it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. That's it. In every season, you keep repeating promises to me. Now there's no stopping what you have started until it is complete. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. No, you won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. In my when my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. No, you won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out, breaking out. Woo! 'Cause your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. In my
Hallelujah. What's next? Us? I sent the list out, didn't I? All right. Hey, you may be seated for just a second. Lord gave me a job today. He said, one of the things we want to do in Celebrate Recovery is we don't want to take advantage of the situation. What I mean by that is we don't want to assume that everybody that walks in this door is on the same page. So he said, you need to explain why we have worship in CR. Because maybe somebody doesn't understand that. Because we never talk about it in any of the teachings, really. First of all, I'm Thomas. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm celebrating recovery from pornography, but I struggle with control issues and codependencies and self-worth and some other stuff. Hey, family. It's great to be here with you. So, Pastor's been out of town, so it's a good thing because he'd probably start shaking his head right now because he get to highs. But I'm going to give you a couple of things, okay? And if you come back next week, and if I can be here next week, Lord willing, I'll give you a couple more. Is that okay? But the question is, why do we worship at CR? Because, if you don't understand that, you don't get it, maybe you're thinking, why do they do that? Because the last recovery meeting I went to, we didn't sing, okay? That's just not part of, AA. It's not part of NA. It's not part of whatever A, whatever it gets, SA, whatever, But it's not natural from that perspective, right? So I'm going to give you a couple things real quick. One of the reasons we worship, there's God. There's a God. I'm telling you what, our world, our culture is trying to tell us that there's not a God. But I'm telling you right now, there's a God. But what's more is our higher power, our God, his name is Jesus Christ. Amen? He's our higher power, and he's worthy to be praised. The second and very important to me, worship is a tool or an avenue or a pathway to the presence of God. It's not about the songs. It's not about the instrumentation. It's not about the quality. It's not about time signatures. It's not about just the words, but it has a lot to do with the words we're singing. But it's a pathway to get to the presence of God. Because one of the founding principles of Celebrate Recovery is the fact that I'm not God and I cannot control my tendency to do the wrong thing, right? So we need to get to something that can control our tendency to do the wrong thing. And that's not Thomas, okay? And it's not Ralph, and it's not Robert, and it's not Karen. I'm just naming leaders here. I'm not giving away anonymity here. But it's God. And the closer that we can get to his presence is the better it gets. Let me tell you what Psalm 16:11 says, and we'll keep worshiping. English Standard Version says, "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures evermore." That's what we've been looking for. We've been looking to get happy, haven't we? And the Bible tells us the presence of God is fullness of joy. So one of the reasons we worship here at CR is to get close to God in his presence and to get the real joy that we've been missing. And pleasures forevermore. Not short-term pleasures like sin gives us, and then we get a load of shame and guilt that knocks us out. And we go back to our addiction, and it gives us a pleasure for a second. And then the shame comes on us, and we feel 1,000 times worse. And then it's a cycle. God wants us to break out of that cycle, and I believe his power is here tonight to do that. And if you'll come back next week, Lord willing, I'll give you a couple more. Fair enough? All right. I sent the list out today, but I tell you, I can't remember what it is. So we're just going to keep singing. Let's worship. This song right here, I don't know what happened, but I lost it somehow out of the pile. I don't know. I kept avoiding it, but it's a great song, and Audie's not played it, so that means it's been a couple of years since we sung it. But if you've been here for a while, you're going to know this song. It's called I Can't Believe. That's a strange song, title for a Christian worship song, I Can't Believe. But what it's saying is, I can't believe the price you paid for me. And what Sarah was talking about is we feel worthless. a lot of times. I'll just tell you straight up, the last 2 weeks I've been struggling. And I didn't really know it. I didn't understand it. I couldn't comprehend it. I just didn't feel great. And I just thought, and I told my accountability partner this morning, I said, I just been feeling melancholy. I said, I've had that feeling. Is that right? I just had that feeling for a while. But, you know, I realized that, you know what? We had a breakthrough here a couple Sundays ago. And let me tell you something. We stirred something up. We stirred something up, and the enemy is not happy. And I don't care. So whatever he's been feeding you, if you've been struggling, I'm telling you what, he's here for you tonight. And if you're still struggling with your addiction, we've got the answer for you. It's Jesus Christ. And just listen to the words of this song.
In the fall you were there, grace began before I was aware. A shame too great for me to hide, covered now because of Jesus Christ. What you did not hold, so that I could know you. How can it be you chose someone like me to declare your praise for the glory of your name? To the one who gave it all, I belong with all my heart and soul. And every gain count as lost, I survey the wonder of the cross. What you what you did not hold, so that I could know you. How can it be you chose someone like me to declare your praise for the glory of? I can't believe the price you paid for me, what you did not hold, so that I could know you. How can it be you chose someone like me to declare your praise for the glory of God? You gave your life upon a cross, to make a home within my heart. Oh, what a faithful God you are. Your praise forever in my heart. I can't believe the price you paid for me, what you did not owe, so that I could know you. How can it be you chose someone like me to declare your praise for the glory of your name?
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made the stars are made to worship so light, if the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sound above our praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. We praise you, Lord. God of salvation, you chased down my heart, all of my failure and pride. Thank you, Lord. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you've lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart in everything you've done, Lord. Every part designed in a work of art of love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child who died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so would I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? Nothing. You're the one who never leaves the one behind. Like you would again 100 billion times. Just for you and me, folks. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind. Landing, we're going to stay here tonight and watch this video, right?
Welcome to the Fellowship of the Broken. I am a grateful follower of Jesus Christ, and I praise God for His mercy and His grace. I am in recovery for sexual abuse and physical abuse as a child, and I'm discovering codependency along the way, and my name is Ralph. You know, I'm realizing that more people, since we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, I'm realizing there are more people who need Celebrate Recovery now than ever before. It's a safe place. in an uncertain world. It's a place of healing for the brokenness that is in us. The brokenness that is in us. Not in somebody else, but the brokenness that is in us. It's a place of abundant victory and hope. And we're glad you're here tonight. We have a couple of announcements we want to make. Is Paige here? Paige, come up here. Tell us about the cookout. We're going to have a cookout. Come on, Paige, trot up here. You're going to get a lot of experience at this. We're going to have a cookout May the 14th. It's on a Friday, and it's about a week and a half away. And we are officially tonight inviting every one of you. And I haven't told you yet, ma'am. I haven't told you yet what time we're having it.
6 o'clock.
I did. Okay. All right.
Well, I don't know if you did. I don't know.
Okay. It's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Every one of you is invited. All your family, all your relatives, and all your friends. All we ask is you tell us how many you're going to bring. Be sure and do that. We're going to provide. Go. You tell them.
Yes. Yes. I'm actually going to stand outside the doors tonight, so I need for every person that has not contacted me, even if you have really, I need for you to stop and just make sure that I have you written down so that we can have plenty of food. I do have a few things that still need to be filled. Actually, we've done an excellent job filling up almost everything that needs to be brought. I do have like a 50 count of potato chips that I need for someone to volunteer to bring. And we need to sign some people up for some desserts as well and some side dishes. So we've got every single thing covered, I think, except for the buns, and I think we're going to get those ourselves. You didn't know that, did you, Ralph? Yeah. Well, we've got every food item there is to bring. It's going to keep the cost down. Everybody's volunteered to bring stuff, which is great. Everybody give yourself a hand. Yay.
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do need for you to stop and tell me if you're coming and how many you're bringing and what you're bringing, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. She's doing a great job, isn't she? All right, we have a really good video for you tonight. Thomas and I sat down and watched it today, and it spoke to me, and I'm sure that it'll have that. This is Rodney Holstrom, and he is one of the national leaders in Celebrate Recovery. Excellent teacher and great CR ministry leader. And he has some very important things to say to us about how it is very necessary and important for us to prepare ahead of time and have an escape hatch when we get in situations where we need to get away from, to avoid danger, to avoid making big mistakes. We need to plan ahead and have an escape route. So listen carefully, and I guarantee you that Rodney will have something just for you.
Way Forever family, grateful believer in Jesus Christ, struggle with drugs and alcohol and food issues. My name is Rodney. I just wanted to spend some time for this month just unpacking some real practical tools that I've learned in my own recovery, people that I've mentored through the years on just building an escape plan. And before we kind of set that context, I'm going to give you some real practical things and knowing that you can apply this to anything. You can apply it to pornography. You can apply it to alcohol and drugs. There's a good lens that you can really use this. But specifically, I want to talk about just acting out with the sexual integrity aside, but just knowing you can apply that to others is helpful. But I want you to kind of think about this. This is just good to be aware of kind of the cycle that things can fall into. We kind of have this mindset. If I was drawing a chart, at the very top of the chart, you would see preoccupation. So we kind of become preoccupied with a thought pattern, right? When we find ourselves in that preoccupation place, then if we're going clockwise, then we would come down to this place of falling into ritualization. And another way of saying that is we can kind of find this where we're kind of in fantasizing about what it would be like, right? What it would be like when I have that substance, when I sit down at the computer, whatever. So those chemicals in my brain, kind of this ritualization, are being released in my brain, and a lot of those same chemicals are the same ones that happen when we're actually acting out. So just think about that. So when we move from that preoccupation to ritualization, then we're one step away then from falling into acting out, if we follow that cycle down here to the bottom of the circle. And now we're acting out. And when we act out, then we're completing that cycle up here to despair. And a lot of times what happens is when we're in that place of despair, or you could do a shame, then a way to get out of our despair is we go right back into ritualization. We kind of bypass even preoccupation. We're right back into get me out of this, or we go right down to the acting out. And then it's just a vicious cycle that we get stuck in. And so being aware of that, what is my mind preoccupied with? And I need to kind of take those thoughts captive. And it's just important to be thinking about that. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but what can I occupy my mind? What can I stimulate my mind with new and something different to get my mind off of those old patterns that I was walking through? So just keeping that cycle in mind is important as you kind of walk through this process with me the next few minutes. But here's what I want you to think of, is just kind of think of the difference between strength and wisdom. If you look in Proverbs 5, we see Solomon. He's in the red light district. A woman's husband has left, and she's kind of luring him in, right? And his strength says, I'm not going to do it. He says, no, 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 no. And then she eventually, through luring with rose petals, and it's a pretty descriptive passage, eventually he caves, and he's kissing this woman, and she vomits in his mouth. I know that's pretty descriptive, but that's what happens. That's the picture when we give in to our addictions and we move from that preoccupation to ritualization to acting out. We're in despair, and that's the vomit in our mouth. And that's a very vivid picture, I know. Forgive me if that makes you nauseous, but that's how we want to feel about our sin, right? That our choices that we're making is like that it would make us nauseous, that I don't even want to go there. And that's why we're even talking about this. So I'm moving from that place of I can be strong enough. Strength says I can go hang out in that neighborhood and I'll be okay. Wisdom says don't even go to that neighborhood. And so that's the context of what we're going to be talking about. But if you've ever heard of the old Cortez analogy, where he gets to the island and they burn the ship so that there's no choice, they can't go back. There's no way they can go back. And that's really what we're talking about here, is to burn the ships, so to speak. I love this quote. I don't remember who said it, but it's this practice of through sexual addiction. We stop practicing our compulsions in all forms. We get rid of all materials, get rid of all those materials and other things that can become triggers that can take us from preoccupation to ritualization. We remove those, we burn those ships and fully turn away, burn all of our connections to those old things and practices, all those old hazards that would always inevitably end me up in this place of acting out in despair. And so the key thing that I want you to take in is that recovery is not to stop the addictive behavior, because if you are a leader and you're mentoring somebody, or you're in this struggle your own and you're early in your recovery, it's so important to know that you've tried to stop on your own, right? It just doesn't work. And that's why Celebrate Recovery is so central, to understanding and getting to the roots and the good reasons why I end up doing what I'm doing. So this isn't about stopping the addictive behavior. We've been there, we've done that, but rather it's to refrain from starting again. So what I'm talking to you about today is to really kind of help stop the bleeding so that we can roll up our sleeves and get into a Celebrate Recovery Step Study group and really understand those wounds, those hurts, the good reasons, not right reasons, but good reasons why we go to this place of comfort, so that we can really live out God's purpose for our life. So it's to refrain from starting again. So that mindset, shifting from to stop the behavior to I don't want to start again, can be a little bit of a subtle shift in our brain to think about. So what are those triggers that are kind of getting me into this place of despair? So this process really actually demonstrates your commitment to the transformation process. It's entering into a partnership with God and the body of Christ, saying, I'm committed to this. And the boundaries that I'm going to talk about kind of show and they reflect your commitment to your own recovery journey, your commitment to the change in your recovery. So here's what I want to just prepare your heart for if you're early in the trying to never start again pornography kind of deal, or whatever the substance is. It really applies to all. You're going to experience withdrawal, right? Your body, even with pornography and sexual addiction, it's going to be screaming at you saying you're going to die and you can't exist, you can't live without this. Push through that though. You will live. It will change. It will get the pain will be different, and it will be manageable as you walk through this, and you'll eventually learn that you're not going to die, and you'll begin to develop confidence. And what we want to do is what I want to do in this next few minutes is just help you to develop some confidence to be able to carry this out as you start digging down into that stuff and live that recovery and that freedom, as Celebrate Recovery does a beautiful job helping us do. So what needs to be destroyed, what needs to be eliminated, what needs to be removed. And so here's one thing out of the gate that I'll just say is build an abstinence list. What are those things that I just can't do anymore? I can't look at anymore. What are those things? And it's not an exhaustive list, but just right out of the gate, what are those things that I need to remove? You can kind of think about that and jot some things down as we walk through this. But I'm going to walk through some categories here. But here's something I've been encouraging some of my sponsees, and I want to encourage you. It might be something that you do as we think about positive activities that we can do in our recovery. Again, that just in that track of wisdom is maybe when you're doing your quiet time, add to your daily journaling, what are 3 self-care things that I can do today? It can be jogging, it can be running, it can be some hobbies that you like. If you enjoy reading, if you like playing the guitar, I love playing guitar, I just never play the guitar. Maybe it's hanging out with some friends, maybe it's reading a book. That the basic gist of it is, what am I going to do today that will bring some encouragement to me to help me take care of me today? And that will kind of shift. Instead of those old mechanisms that I would use for comfort, I'm going to try something new. And so setting some boundaries. Now, let me say this about boundaries. It's important to let people into that so that they know what boundaries you're establishing as we walk through this really quickly over the next few minutes. But here's something I'll say about boundaries and accountability. And this may be a little bit of a shift in your own thinking. No one can hold you accountable. Okay, no one can hold you accountable, but you can choose to allow someone that you can be accountable to them. It's a little bit different shift. See, when my mindset is, it's your job to hold me accountable. No one can hold me accountable, but I can choose to allow you. I can be accountable to you. And I need people in my life that when they look me in the eye and they say, no, really, how are you? How are you doing with that boundary that we were talking about, that we're getting ready to unpack here? How are you doing with that as you let people into that? and I can know I'm allowing myself to be accountable to you. And so I need to be honest and let you into that, so that not in a shaming way, but to be praying about that and help me. Because until I can burn those ships, true sustainable recovery is not going to happen if I keep practicing these same things moving forward. So real quickly, let's unpack that. Some practical boundaries, and some of these are captain obvious statements, but maybe they'll be helpful for you if you're early in the recovery process, or maybe you're mentoring somebody that's struggling in this area. So one is places. Are there bookstores? If you've been in an affair, obviously you don't need to be going around the affair partner's house. It seems like duh, but how many times do we drive by that house, right? Don't go through that neighborhood anymore. You can't go by that. Is there video stores? There's not many video stores around anymore, but are there stores that tend to, like a Barnes and Noble? Is there a section of the store that I tend to be drawn toward? Maybe I can't go in that store anymore, or when I do, I only walk on this side of the store, knowing that that's where those particular materials are that tend to trigger me. So what's places? Media. Are there media movies that I watch? It's like, well, I can watch that R-rated movie. It just has one small scene in there that's inappropriate. I'll just turn away, kind of a thing. But remember, when we get preoccupied and we move into that ritualization, those chemicals in my brain are already being released. And if watching those kind of things tends to get me into that broken place, I need to be real careful to make sure that I'm not doing those kind of things. So not watching those kind of things. Are there innocent TV shows that tend to cause me to, sort of innocent show, but there's kind of a sexual innuendo that tends to get that preoccupation moving to ritualization. Maybe I don't need to be watching that. Again, these are your boundaries, and if you really are committed to your recovery, then you start to think about these things. People, are there unhealthy friends that I have around me? When I'm around them, I tend to do this. Is there certain family members that I need to really protect myself from that tends to kind of trigger that? Printed material, magazines. Now, we're not just talking about pornographic. We're talking about things, sometimes it can be things that are just innocent magazines, but I tend to kind of be drawn to certain images in those magazines, something like Good Housekeeping. It's like, if that's a trigger for me, I need to set a boundary. I'm committed to my recovery. I can't look at those things. What about the internet? Obviously, internet is a big one, right? Do I have filters? Do I have accountability software? Are there certain websites that every time I go to it, I've seen this with Instagram, maybe I can't be on Instagram because every time I'm on Instagram, I find myself in this unhealthy place. So being aware of that and protecting myself there. Substances. I've seen this common with every time I'm acting out, I'm drinking, or I'm smoking, or I'm got a cigar or whatever. And so I need to be very aware of that. What substances am I taking? I don't need to do that. And I've even seen this with food. I'll talk about that here in just a second. But just being aware of all the substances I'm taking in, and there tends to be a parallel. Obviously, my recovery, substances are out of the question. I don't drink and I don't do drugs. And I hope that you don't either, but it's just good to be aware if you're early in that recovery process, what are the parallels there? And are they kind of feeding off of each other? It's like, maybe I need to remove that, and that will help me take care of the pornography as well. So just being aware of that, I think, is important. And then driving, and I'm just going to throw this in there. It's a little awkward, but showers. Sometimes people will act out in the shower, and I'm just being real with you guys, right? But where do I drive? Maybe when I shower, I need to set a time limit so that I'm in there, get in, get out quick, so that I'm not allowing myself to be in that ritualization and that preoccupation. That's where I tend to act out, kind of a mindset. So I'm going to set a timer and get in and get out. So, but driving, what are the places that when I'm going home, there's a certain house that I drive by, or there's a certain store or a certain sign I need to take a longer route because I don't want to go there. And then the other category is food. I mentioned that. When I eat junk food, I tend to kind of feel sluggish, and I find myself kind of getting into this preoccupation and ritualization. I feel in a funk, and then I go to acting out and looking at things that I don't need to be looking at. Gambling, finances, even my language, my swearing, etc., can be a parallel to my acting out. So just being aware of that. So real quickly, an escape plan. I want to encourage you to write your own escape plan, but I'm just going to give you a couple things that might spur some thoughts for you. One is, I've got a picture of my wife, right? When I want to go act out, I'm going to my escape plan and have it on a 3x5 card and keep it in my wallet. I'm going to look at a picture of my wife and my family. Maybe that will be something to kind of stop that. If that doesn't work, maybe I take a 2-minute walk. I'm going to take a 2-minute walk when I'm feeling that, take a walk around the building, the office, so that I don't go to the computer and go fall back into those old things. Read something that will stimulate my mind. What's something new that I can read here? Take a three minutes to just ground myself. It sounds crazy, but I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to close my eyes and breathe in through my nose. Breathe in your strength right now, Father. And I'm going to breathe out all those insecurities and the pain. I'm going to process what's going on. I'm going to meditate with you, God, and this is what's going on for my heart. Check in with myself, do a heart check like we do in Celebrate Recovery. Breathe in, breathe out. Just thinking about Yahweh. Breathe in, Yahweh, Yahweh. Just breathing in. What do I smell right now? What's 3 things I smell? What's 3 things I hear? What's 3 things I see in the room? What do I taste, right? Just grounding myself, getting myself back into my body and into this room, because I want to exit and go look for comfort. Obviously praying, calling somebody. You don't have to tell them that you're even struggling. Just call someone and encourage them. Obviously calling your sponsor and being honest is important. You need to tell them, hey, I'm wrestling with this. I need you to know. But there might be a family member that you call just to encourage them. Calling your spouse if that's healthy. So there's just some ideas, just setting some boundaries, an escape plan. You can come up with some of your own. Some of them maybe go shooting some hoops, whatever. What's doing a puzzle, playing a game of checkers with your son. I mean, just finding something that will get you out of that place of preoccupation that ends up in ritualization and always ends up in acting out in despair, just to really stop the bleeding. And then that's just to kind of get you some grounding so that you can go do the work and Celebrate Recovery. And so if we have some practical tools like that, it can help us while we do the work, the heart work in Celebrate Recovery, and stay honest, rigorously honest with the men or women in our group that we're walking through Open Share, Step Study, and then our sponsor and accountability team. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys as you mentor people in this area, or maybe you're brand new to recovery. We've had several on CR Connected jump on. Maybe there's something you just need some practical tools as you get into Celebrate Recovery and start working these principles. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Hope it blesses you. And thanks so much for watching. Let us know if you have any questions. Happy to answer any questions you got. Hope you're doing well. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.